Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Estelle of Imladris. I am Kai, I use he, they, and she pronouns, and you're back for another episode of Seems Right, my show about costuming and storytelling. Before we get into it, let's talk about this world that we are in. We live in a time filled with cruelty, genocide, and hate that is blasted at us in a non-stop torrent, and this can feel very overwhelming. I want you watching this to know that it's okay and very normal to feel overwhelmed. The task before us is not to let that feeling become inaction or hopelessness. All it takes is doing one thing, whether it is protesting, donating, an act of care for someone in your community, or other actions of resistance to create change if we all do just one. One person cannot change the world, but many individuals doing one thing can. Thank you for being here with me today. After or even during this video, I hope you take one action to make the world that you live in a better place. Don't forget that also care for yourself, your friends and family, and your community are fundamental to radical action and change. Be there for those in need in your community and ask for help if you are that person in need. The only way through all of this is together. In caring for those right beside us in our immediate communities, we must not forget the world that we live in. We should fight for the freedom of those oppressed around the world, especially those facing genocide and violent oppression. I stand with the people in Sudan, the DRC, and all oppressed peoples of the world in their struggle for liberation. It is imperative now more than ever that we stand with Palestine and the Palestinian people of Gaza and the West Bank who are facing genocide from Israel and Zionist forces. If you can do only one thing today, take action for Palestine. You can use !Gaza in my chat here on Twitch to find some resources on where you can send aid and how other ways that you can take action right now, including contacting your political leaders to tell them that this has to stop right now. In particular today, I wanted to draw attention to the action in the West Bank, a thing that is often overlooked for the genocide going on in Gaza. But especially people here in the US, we have a lot of actual voice because a lot of the people involved in what's going on in the West Bank, every day I hear a news story about specifically someone from the US involved in things happening in the West Bank. So know that the Zionism is not just coming from Israel. The Zionists here in the United States are also taking action to claim land that belongs to Palestine. So when you contact your political leaders, tell them to take action, not only to stop the famine and genocide going on in Palestine, which is absolutely imperative that we stop now, but also that we need to be stopping settler colonists in the West Bank. It all has to stop now. In taking action as a community, it can make a real difference. I am so grateful to have this platform and this space with all of you to say these things, to be heard, and for there to be community in action. I think it's so important, and it really does help me feel like the world is a little bit less drowning. And so thank you so much for being here with me live in chat here on Twitch, or if you're watching later on the VODs on Twitch or over on YouTube. I'm so grateful, and thank you so much for being here with me. It really does mean the world to share this space with all of you, to see you all in chat, to have these conversations. It is so important that we talk about the world that we live in. If you're enjoying my streams, please consider following, and if you're able to, subscribing. I am an independent content creator, and all of your support helps me continue to tell stories and talk to you about what you can do to make your stories more rich and personal. You can always follow me over on either Twitch or YouTube. Following me on YouTube is free. It'll just give you a little, on Twitch, it'll just give you an alert when I go live. Subscribing is always so helpful to me. It does cost money, but I appreciate every single sub every month. It means so much to me to actually have some sort of resource to help me continue to do this, because it is, as we learned last week, a little time consuming. That today we're going to have a little bit more of a freeform adventure, but that's a whole other thing for a little bit from now. And if you're watching over on YouTube, thank you so much for watching these videos. I do upload all of them about a week and a half after they air live on Twitch. And if you're enjoying this video over there, give it a little like, leave me a little comment. Thanks for the watch over there. It means so much to have all of these available, and that they're watched and enjoyed. It means so much. Let's see here. Happy Hispanic. I'm gonna start that one over. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. I love celebrating our Latina creators. There are some amazing places you can go to see amazing content and work created by our Latina community. You can especially go check out Chris Colon. Every year does a highlight of Latina creators in the TTRPG space. You should definitely go check that out. There's also the Twitch Latin Guild that you can also go check out, which is a part of the Twitch Unity Guilds, which I am also a member of. So happy Hispanic Heritage Month, and thank you for celebrating all of them with me. Yeah, and if you are Latina, hey, congratulations. Thanks so much for sharing your amazing heritage as a Los Angelian. I have loved being a part of such a rich Hispanic community. It really, it's very special. Yes, so I'm a little eepy today. I've been map making pretty much for the last week and change, and I'm an EP boy today, but I'm very excited for the subject, so it's gonna be fun. The last announcement at the top of stream, did you know that last week, a week ago yesterday, The Home You Remember came out, the game co-created with Tender Vicious Studios and Frivolous Bear Studios about imperfect memory, community, and the selfless act of self-exploration. And it is a tarot-based game that is made as a love letter from journaling games like Thousand Year Old Vampire that we played here on this stream, but it is not a solo journaling game, but is rather a community game in which you explore memories through tarot pulls. So you can go check that out. You can use !THWR in my chat for links and information, and if you are watching over on YouTube later, I'll put it down in the summary below so you can check out the link there. Yeah. Oh yes, a little bit about my map making. I've been making battle maps for a job for the last week and change, so I've been making things with my hands. It's been very fun. I'm sure that there will be pictures on my socials sooner rather than later, but recently my hands have just been in map making land. I finished at 5 a.m. Last night / this morning. But I'm so excited to talk to you all about contemporary costuming today. So from the very top, what is contemporary costuming? Kai, what are you talking about? So I'm going to talk to you about, first of all, we're going to start with like, what is contemporary costuming? Why is it important? Why is it its own special side thing? Contemporary costuming is any costuming that is like modern, like usually it starts being period the moment it's like, God, I've shivered to think it's like 10 years old. So what that means is that it's something that you would reasonably walk out the front door and see someone wearing. And that includes a lot of modern dramas on television, and there's plenty of movies, but also includes things like Vampire the Masquerade. There's a lot of ETM games that are set in contemporary places and times. A lot of urban fantasy is contemporary. And so that is its own unique costuming world, because a lot of people think of it as like almost invisible design, because in the bigger picture of costume design, a lot of people, when I say like costume design, people are thinking of period dramas and high fantasy and science fiction and very high concept projects that don't have clothes that you could walk out to a store, from what most people perceive like clothes that you could just walk out to a store and buy. But even like our superhero movies have a huge section that is just contemporary costuming. So it is a craft all its own, and it's something that, because we do so much urban fantasy and things like that in the TTRPG space, I thought it was a really good kind of thing to focus in on. and kind of talk to you about like the range of it, kind of how it's been done for film and television, and how to deconstruct that and use that for your own devices. So first of all, kind of some background. The costume design community has often been very divided on what contemporary costume means, because there was the longest time where contemporary clothing in like the silver and golden age of Hollywood. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Moxie. The golden age of Hollywood, they had tailors that would make clothing for the actors, but they weren't necessarily costume designers, and they were making largely contemporary clothing. And if it was meant to be a period drama, they were doing a contemporary styled version of these costumes. So if you go watch something like Metropolis, or even like there are elements of some of the more iconic black and white films that are like only kind of historical. They're more like 1920s does the Victorian era, and 1920s does science fiction. Yeah. Well, Indie Wanderer, that's so wonderful. I can't wait to see what you're cooking. Oh, and I'm so glad that you can make it, Moxie. Yeah, so the twist on that became that people didn't really perceive costuming for a very long time, and it took a long time for someone to step forward and say, hey, we need like someone to be in charge of what this looks like outside of just what the tailors say it looks like. And so that's where we have figures like Edith Head, who is a extremely iconic and prolific costume designer. There's Adrian as well. These like titans of costume design in Hollywood. There are multiple buildings named after Edith Head in Los Angeles. And that was when people started taking costuming seriously, but still the majority of like costumes were non-standard clothing. They were things that you couldn't just like walk out on the street and see, or like go to a party and see someone wearing. And it wasn't until Edith Head started to be like, no, we want these to look more than just stylish. So like I heavily encourage you to go watch like a Busby Berkeley movie, which first of all, I just love them. But second of all, they have like the most delicious and elegant costume designs for the era. And those were contemporary back then. Nowadays, if we were doing that, it would obviously be a period thing. But now to kind of bring it forward, there's been a debate in costume design world of like, how do we recognize in the same category like Star Wars and like Abbott Elementary? They're both costume design shows. They both have great characters. And who's to say whether or not the nuance of design of a contemporary show with people wearing normal people clothes versus something that has an immense budget and world building behind the clothing, they're not better or worse than each other. They are just two very different kinds of design. And so if you get down into award shows and things like that that recognize costumes, you'll see that they're really starting to split off like specifically historical, genre, and contemporary as three very different categories. And I definitely think of them that way. And I think about that way in TTRPGs as well. Even though a lot of what we do is like genre media, like, you know, sci-fi fantasy stuff. Because recreating history, as you all who watch this channel have heard me rant about extensively, is a whole other craft that there are multiple schools that specialize in teaching people how to recreate historical dress. But what about someone who's set in a story today? What do they wear? How do we design and think through interesting contemporary clothing? And this includes things like when they came out, not current, but like in the 1960s we had in the 1980s, I know how to read numbers, Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which is an iconic drag story. That's contemporary. They were wearing clothing, driving on a bus in a giant shoe in Australia. What a strange and specific movie that is. And like, The Devil Wears Prada is technically a contemporary costume show. It's like a high fashion contemporary costume show, but it's contemporary costuming. And even depending on where you blur the line, like some people think that anything in the 1900s, basically after the 20s, becomes kind of contemporary, which I kind of agree with, but I think that it's got to be a little more limited than that personally. And so the way to kind of think about how do I go about designing contemporary costuming other than like what I wear every day, we're going to get into a little bit of, I guess I should have put this in the content warnings, a little bit of like, socioeconomic inequality and production and things like that, because a lot of what you see and perceive of contemporary costume design is fake. And kind of, I hope to show you that it's fake so you can either choose to do the fake thing or do it a different way, which I also encourage you to try. But the reason I say it's fake is that, like, if you're watching a TV show with people wearing contemporary clothing, even if it looks like they're wearing a t-shirt that they got at Walmart, they've tailored that t-shirt. Chances are it's not actually from Walmart. The list is very long, and very often you'll find that the price tag on the garments that are worn on, especially like primetime television and in like big TV shows and things like that, are very expensive. Like, as a person who likes buying identical garments to screen use garments, I thought about buying Joel's jacket from The Last of Us. That is a $300-something jacket. There is no planet where Joel bought that jacket and probably didn't find that jacket. The actual one. Because the actual one looks like just a regular trucker jacket. And so it's always about finding the secret in like why they're shopped that way, why the clothing costs that much, and how do you then take those lessons and turn them into either making something for yourself, like buying a costume or a cosplay or something like that, either for a show or for a convention or whatever. And how do you take it into design for character art, for, just explaining your character in a TTRPG, etc. Because it's a contemporary costumes. They're sure a big thing. So I wanted to start with color. I have a whole episode of Seems Right about color and color theory, which you can definitely go check out, about like how to match color and things like that. But one of the secret weapons of contemporary costuming is color. Because clothing can be almost any color these days. Sure, yes, there are the lost dyes and things like that, but like at the end of the day, you can make clothing nearly any color except for the one that involves a laser. Because we have the dye technology to do it. And so one of my favorite, I'm going to pull up this picture actually. One of my favorite shots that I always think about is like when you're explaining your character, or you are doing art of your character, or you're shooting a scene with a character in it, using color to control a scene is like pointing a spotlight at somebody if you can do it right. So there's a shot from Marvel's Agent Carter. I think it might be from the short and not from the TV show, that I think about constantly when I'm talking about color, because it is the epitome of controlling a scene with color. Just want the image. Thank you. Because there are so many people in this shot. There's just 4 people right here and another like 6 or 7 right here, and you're only looking at her. Because they're all wearing not black and white. They're wearing grays and muted colors. There's a little bit of color here, a little bit of color over here. Their faces have color. But she has color. And it's not just the red hat, even though it's the first thing your eye goes to. It's also the blue suit. It's the really like visible white collar of her blouse. There's also like subtle hints of red throughout that costume that really is meant to draw the eye, so that whenever she walks into a room, everyone who's wearing these, 1940s gray suits and things like that, you're not looking at them. You're looking at her. She's the main character. They want you to be looking at her. It's Gigi Milton, the costume designer for the show, is a master at color on screen, so that you are only ever looking at who you're supposed to be looking at, basically. And it's kind of one of my favorite shows to talk about the costuming for, because it is razor sharp. But color can do this. And you can do this with contemporary, you can do this with period and science fiction and fantasy as well, but especially when you're not working with big bustle silhouettes or science fiction or fantasy elements to a garment, you can kind of zoom in on somebody by just saying, like, among a scene of vampires all dressed in, black leathers and things like that, my character's wearing neon. And that suddenly, even the visual of that, without having to show a picture, you're suddenly only going, the neon person. And you can be as subtle or unsubtle as you want about it, but when you're describing things in color, it tends to actually come off as pretty subtle. Neon's not subtle, as a lover of neon. But yeah, Jason's right. Even the makeup really like makes her kind of glow a little bit. Again, this is another one of those shows. To me, this is like one of the most perfect costume shows. The costume and makeup team on Agent Carter are truly singular. Yeah, so color, and we could do this 1,000 times. I don't have as many good examples up, but like, thank you, Turtle Kier. And this is why, when you're designing a PC for TTRPGs, for example, I encourage you to design your character like you are the main character. As you heard me kind of rant last week in my Q&A session, I think all player characters in TTRPGs deserve to be the main character of their story, but you're all the main character together, so that works out. And so design your character like you want to be seen like Peggy Carter is in that shot. Because the idea of playing like either someone of a different color or more color than the other people around them, it is a way to describe them being stand out. It is a way to also recess NPCs if you're the GM of a scene, to be like, yeah, and a person in a gray suit, a woman in a beige dress. It doesn't have to be quite so bland, but like you get the idea of like these people kind of melding into the background. Oh, that was the other one I was thinking of. Another favorite costume drama of mine. Where is that costume though, is always the question. And this one's technically science fiction, but did they have a shot of it? I'm looking for a particular costume for the movie Gattaca. It's Uma Thurman. There. It's a scene where you're literally only supposed to have eyes for her, and I believe Colleen Atwood was the costume designer for this movie. And she is another one of those like masters at drawing the eye using costuming. Anyways, here's the dress. And this one isn't even subtle. We left subtlety far behind. So yes, silver, metallics, gold, anything that you can describe something being shiny, something being visually different. A lot of people in Gattaca are wearing like almost matte colors. There's a lot of wools. There's a lot of like more crepey satins and things like that that are meant to kind of eat light. And then she shows up in this dress, and it's another one of those like you may as well have put a spotlight on her. Uh, oh, sorry you're not feeling well, Hazel. Glad you're here though. And it's not that she's wearing a different color. I think her character only wears shades of gray the entire movie. But this dress is like, she's like a disco ball. I can't imagine that their cinematographer was completely thrilled with lighting something reflective in silver. But that's why characters like the Mandalorian and characters that have such high reflective surfaces, whether it's through things like this silver dress, or in the case of the Mandalorian, he has, his entire chrome Beskar armor. These things make people stand out, and you can do this with contemporary costumes by having things that are shiny, things that are, covered in sequins or rhinestoned or whatever. And this is how like rock stars stand out at their concerts and things like that. Like, yes, Beyonce is like the queen of having things that are crystal encrusted, but there are so many examples of just like reflective light being a way to capture the eye and the attention. And so like you'll notice I'm wearing something very matte. This is just like a t-shirt. But if I were wearing something very shiny, you would probably be a little bit more distracted by just how shiny I am. Which for a character like that's gonna walk through a party scene, you kind of want that. And so when you're describing your character, entering a scene, you can always talk about the quality of light that reflects off of them. And that little bit of I'm being a monster telling people to make things shiny. If you do it in reality and you have a lighting setup, just be warned. Shiny things are very shiny. And actually one of the most incredible technical marvels of our time is so subtle. I consider it like almost up close magic what they do with the Mandalorian, because him being reflective on the armor is something that we could not have done before the invention of the volume, which is how they film the Mandalorian, which is an immersive screen set. Because the light bouncing off of his helmet is real. Otherwise, they would have to be CG adjusting all of it, which is so much work. Like more work than almost anyone would be willing to do, which is why for the longest time you didn't see people with armor that was truly shiny. There's a practice in costuming of buffing and dulling things using dulling spray and grease and Vaseline and hairspray just to knock the shine off of stuff, because shiny things are eye-catching, but also in the case of film and television, they're reflective and you can actually see the camera crew. If you watch the live filming from Arc 3 of the Chaos Protocol on Transplanar, we had a lot of reflective surfaces in one of those scenes, and one of my pride and joy magic tricks was hiding the equipment, the crew. There were a lot of people in the room for a lot of these scenes, and you just couldn't see them because I'm a big fan of film magic and how you hide people using angles and light. So the shininess, the light reflexivity, this also includes things like patent leather or latex, or things with actual lights on them, which are things that you can wear contemporarily now, or high vis stuff. All of these things are things that you can use to draw attention to your character or to say something about your character in contemporary design. And then there was one more. Oh, the pattern. Goodbye, Uma Thurman. If you haven't seen Gattaca, it's a little dated, but that movie really, it's a movie about eugenics, but like in the dark sci-fi way. Yeah, Hazel, you're getting it. If you watch, I'm actually in the background of a lot of scenes. I'm just a big gray blob because I had a blanket over my head. the last thing is pattern, and there are some things that do pattern very well in contemporary dress, and some things that do it in a scary way. And I think in the past I've talked a little bit about pattern just on this channel because pattern is such a big subject for costume design. Because loud patterns, quiet patterns, subtle patterns are all visual texture to various degrees. And there's things like the really bright patterns of the 80s and 90s. There are bright cultural patterns if you go to like West Africa or Japanese textiles, or even like there's a lot of Northern European cultures that have bright textile practices in South American and Central American cultures. So like there's bright pattern in the world. We're not used to seeing a lot of it because basically since the like 2000s, the late 90s, we've gotten more and more minimalist to where like me wearing this gray t-shirt seems fashionable and, like not like super boring. But if I had worn this in the 90s, people would be like, why are you wearing a plain t-shirt? Especially like the late 90s where everything had logos and brands on it. I'm glad we've moved away from that largely as a society. Let's see here. I was looking for... I wanted like a high pattern because you can do things like... Yeah, I'm sorry, Jobii. Listen, if you haven't seen Jovie's art is the opposite of minimalism. And I think you should definitely go check it out because it is decidedly... minimalism has honestly dulled down a lot of things in this world. Okay, there's this dress that is... definitely like West African style print on a lot of these textiles. I think they might purposely be West African prints. Anyways, I'm gonna just show you things now. So yeah, look at these dresses. Pattern for days. Not only do they have bright colors, which we've already talked about color, but the pattern of these, which by the way, if you have not fallen in love with West African textiles, let me just tell you that you should definitely go check out West African textiles because they're some of my favorite fabrics on this earth. But just the amount of pattern, especially on this dress on the right, is... I'm sorry if it's on the left. We've gone over 1,000 times. I am dyslexic. The one with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 patterns that you can see all in one dress. Everyone's gonna look at her. Everyone. Oh, patchwork trench coat. Oh my god, I love that. And also like not only pattern textiles are a way to explore visual interest in contemporary costuming. But you can also create pattern by doing things like embroidery or patchwork or painting, or there's 1,000 ways. Patches, pins. There are 1,000 ways to create visual interest, like patterns in contemporary garments. So like I love a pin jacket. If you go watch The Party, the web series that I was the costume designer for, that is all about people who play D&D. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go check out The Party. It's on YouTube. It's fantastic. You will recognize people in it. But one of the things I really wanted was that the DM character was very like familiar to me and people that I know. And a lot of those people, myself included, have pin jackets. And so DM in that show has a pin jacket that to me is one of the ways that you can really push both visual interest like pattern, shiny things like we were just talking about, but also nuance that only contemporary things kind of get to. Because before like the 60s, pins were mostly reserved for militaria. Like there were some like identifying pins, but like pin jackets and like motorcycle vests and things like that that had pins and patches on them didn't come in until the like mid 1900s. And so we can go and say like, oh, well, this person likes, I think on DM's jacket, I put some of my personal pins, and it's like Roll for Pride that you can buy from Candles by Palace Pixels. And some like fun patches that my assistant costume designer Maeve also had, who is also a pin jacket owner, wearer, and lover of pins. And it's like little spaceship. I don't remember all the other stuff that's on there, but that kind of stuff is A, pattern making, but B, is a way to personalize a garment. So this is goes back to why like Zynon has Sashiko embroidery and things like that for transplanar, is anything you can do to personalize, especially in contemporary sense where people understand what pin jackets are for, what they look like, especially like they are a non-subtle form of signaling, which is a really old school way of like subculture communication, in which you like, the old thing used to be like in queer spaces it was bandana code, which if you go see the Doomsayers over on Tiny No Tales, I definitely lean into things from the bandana code in Merrick, which means like different kinds of things that people enjoy in, you know, LGBT settings, or like their boundary setting and things like that also are built into the bandana code. It was just like what color bandana you wore in what pocket. And there's people still kind of keep track of the bandana code today, but it's become so much bigger than it used to be. And nowadays we have things like pin jackets or fandom t-shirts or fandom jewelry or, you know, sports clothing. All of these things are ways that we can communicate to other people who are part of our subculture, or to the world that we are from a particular subculture. And so like I see someone with a dodecahedron on, I'm like, TTRPG nerd, we're friends now. You have a D20 on your, you have a D12 on your stuff. Tell me about your TTRPG character. And so it's not just pattern, even though I love pattern. Like, look at these dresses. These are to die for. I love pattern. And if you go look at like the art for Lori's house, one of my other favorite pieces of pattern is that Lori, the character, she is a Black Dominicana trans woman, and I put her in like big floral dresses. Love a big floral dress. But also with like pattern in everything. She's got an apron. I don't remember if she's wearing in the artwork, but like that kind of stuff always helps personalize a character, but also then people are going like pattern, and you can talk about the way that it moves when someone walks and like how it is juxtaposed against someone, again, in minimalist contemporary clothing. Yeah, listen, Hazel, you're right. I also do this. It's so fun to dress as characters subtly. It's fun. So yeah, those are three like big ways to kind of paint contemporary costuming. And when you go looking in contemporary clothing, one of the things that when you're looking at contemporary costume shows, another final thing is also fit, like the way a garment fits. So like the dresses I was just showing you were runway. They were probably made for a specific size of model, and the model was put in that dress because they were the right size. But the secret to like t-shirts on television and in movies is that almost all of them are tailored by a professional tailor, which you could do if you wanted. But that's why your t-shirts don't fit like they do on people in the movies, because t-shirts don't actually fit like that. Tailors make them fit like that. And so if you are looking to show that someone has a certain level of status or a certain like either connection or disconnection from their garments, fit is another excellent way to show that, because from contemporary eyes, especially if we're talking about like a visual thing, showing that someone's clothing fits them like a glove says a lot about status, because it takes time, care, and often money to make things fit super well. Let's see here. What do you got, Cody? Yeah, pin's good. You should. I put one of your bottle cap pins on my jacket. Okay, I was looking for fit examples. Well, like, I'm looking for a specific shot of Chris Evans. Talk about a man that must have every single shirt that he ever wears tailored. Like, I'm almost certain that this shirt had to be tailored. Nope, wrong button. There we go. I know how to operate this thing. Because t-shirts are cut in rectangles. A cat loaf. You have been blessed. T-shirts are cut in rectangles, and while he's a big guy, I think maybe even the sleeves were tailored. Yes, he is the Dorito Man, but you can see that, like, it sits perfectly at his lower waist, which is, for the record, where your pants sit is not on your waist, it's on your lower waist, it's not on your hips. This isn't the 90s. I mean, you could be wearing hip huggers, I guess, but we'll get into that in a little bit, because we're talking about fit of garment, which does matter. So you can see, like, the shirt right here on the bottom just sits right at the pant line and fits just a little tailored in, and I would bet that someone tailored this shirt. The same thing goes for Paul Rudd's shirt, though those shirts are really easy to tailor, frankly. I know, jeans rant part 90. I will rant about jeans. As a person who I think is slowly giving up jeans, it's very funny to me. I love jeans. I just haven't been wearing a lot of them. So yeah, like, even subtle things like this, the shape of this shirt to me says tailored. And this is true of all of the, you know, like, contemporary shows I've ever watched. I'd be like, that shirt got tailored, because they'll bring the actor in, they'll fit them in it. Sometimes it depends on the actor, it depends on the show. Sometimes they're not, but I would say, like, in my experience, like 99% of the time, the garments are at least a little tailored. And sometimes, even though they're just plain t-shirts, they're like $60 a pop plain t-shirts, for the record. And I'm still unclear as to why, frankly, other than vanity. Because there is a layer of vanity to this that I'm going to get into later that I absolutely hate. Label vanity is annoying. And I don't know anything about these costumes. I've never interacted with them. I did not work on this movie. But this is my educated guess. So yeah. And you name the thing where someone's wearing a t-shirt. A lot of them are tailored. I will say, I've noticed a trend recently of thrifted clothes, of, you know, secondhand clothes and things like that, even in contemporary clothing, which I think is really fun. Like, there are some projects from Marvel that I know things were shop secondhand that are featured in films. But the danger to that is, how do you get a second one? Very often in movies and television, you need multiples, or mults is what we call them. And how do you make mults of a t-shirt that's been around for 20 years from a vintage store? And so you run the risk of falling in love with something that you can't use. And that's why a lot of movies and television shows, when they do contemporary, buy things that are simple, replicatable, because especially if it's a series, even if it's a movie series or a TV series, you might need it again. And making contemporary clothes from scratch is very hard to justify in film and television, frankly. When they do exist and you can just go buy them. I've worked on shows that have bought backups just to be stored long-term for shows. I've worked on shows that keep closets of their characters separated out for years by character. That, like, you could go somewhere and on a rolling rack is an entire character's closet of what they would wear any day of the week, in their house, outside, going to work, going to a special event. They keep it all, which is very cool, and I really like that practice. But even in those racks, you can see that they'll have, like, one's new with tag version of something, just in case in the future they want to bring that dress or that shirt or that whatever back. they have a multiple in case that's also by chance the outfit that character dies and they have to cover it in blood or something like that, and then they can have multiples for such an occasion. Oh my god, Lena's talking about the 10th Doctor suit. Talking about a really great tailored garment that they fell in love with something, and it was such a foolish choice in my opinion on a production level. It's a fantastic suit. So I'm gonna pull up a picture just so we can be talking about the same thing. The 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant in Doctor Who, very famously wore this brown suit with blue pinstripes, and then wore the opposite of it as well later on. So the thing about this suit, and this is a known thing, I did not work on the show, this is not me talking out of turn. So this suit fits him like a glove. He's a twig man. They make 1,000 jokes about how skinny he is, and it's a very trim fit suit. The original suit was made out of Gap pants because they went to the Gap and fit him in the pants and realized they wanted it to be a suit. And so every single jacket for the first season and change for the 10th Doctor, all of those suits were made out of Gap pant fabric. They bought the pants, they disassembled them, and they built suits out of them. That is so complicated. That is such dedication to the bit. It is an interesting and beautiful fabric. It is a fascinating brown with blue pinstripe, but you could see how time consuming that must have been. They had to buy, basically the moment that they started doing this, someone dropped a picture and like someone went, oh, these pants on Gap kind of look like it, and those pants vanished from the internet. So that's the other thing, is that like once it's known, those pants, they're gone. They're gone forever, especially in this was like the peak of Doctor Who hype in the early 2010s. And so they then had to reinvent the wheel and get the fabric made custom because they were so committed to him wearing this suit, and he wore it in like every episode. And so there had to be ones for stunt doubles. There had to be ones for people in harnesses. Very famously, David Tennant did a lot of stunts in this show, so he had to have ones for stunting. They probably had to have ones for, he doesn't get into a lot of scrappy fights, but like, even if he were wearing it and running across fields, which he does multiple times in that show, he might need a second one just because he's going to come back and it's going to be drenched through with sweat, and it's A, visible, and B, uncomfortable. And so the commitment to molts, which is required part of film and television, is one of the limiting factors in picking textiles and things like that. So all of that is to say that, like, in the practical sense, some of it is about availability, practicality, but then the other side is some of it is just about vanity and buying $60 t-shirts, like literally plain white t-shirts that I've had to pick up that I'm like, why does this shirt cost more than I'm making? But the ongoing like push and pull of what tells a good story versus what is practical. So if you're making art and you're never gonna make the physical thing, who needs practicality? Put someone in something you could never buy with your real money. Pull stuff straight off the runway. Get garments that you could never buy another multiple of. That's fine. And I encourage you to break the rules of what film and television does, because you don't need to follow those rules. You don't need molts. Very often, you don't need to own it. One of the things that I love doing is when designing costumes, especially contemporary costumes, is going deep into the world of especially like street fashion and things like that. And finding things that I could never buy. Some of it's because it's like international. Some of it's because it's like bespoke. There's an amazing culture of like well-dressed dapper men from like Louisiana wearing bright colorful suits and things like that. I love that stuff. New York street fashion is a favorite of mine. And And then there's, of course, international street fashion. I'm trying to remember, there's a whole subculture, I think it's in Central America, of like really done up men in very colorful and patterned suits. That's absolutely to die for. And I don't have the means to buy these things, but I sure can put them into character concepts, character designs, describe them in actual play, draw art of them, send them as reference images, without having to worry about all of the practicalities. Goodbye, David Tennant. So yeah, the other stuff about buying contemporary clothing is that sometimes you think you're buying something that's contemporary that's actually just a rehash of a previous style, which makes it contemporary again if you can buy it now, but also it's about how it looks. So just because you can buy it doesn't make it look contemporary. Like, I love a members only jacket. I do not think members only jackets look contemporary, even though they look great in contemporary settings. They look like 1980s jackets to me because that's when they were popular. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I should look it up. Members only jackets, love them so much. It's what I wore for Merrick in the Doomsayers because they're like the iconic 80s jacket. And you can definitely buy them now. Let's see here. Here's one you can buy currently. But they haven't changed the pattern or styling of it very much since they started making them in the 80s. And so to that end, like, yes, they are contemporary. And this is why, like, people say contemporary is anything from like 100 years ago to only stuff you can buy now. We recreate the same things on loop, so sometimes things that are vintage are actually current. But we'll get into that after the break. I think it's a good time to get up, stretch, get a snack, pet your pets if you got them, give them a little kiss from me. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about contemporary costuming. I'll see you then. Hello, everyone. Welcome back from break. I see we had some channel point redeems over the break, and I have good news for you. I have a young man. Rigby, say hello, everybody. He says, I bite Papa. I bite my father. Okay, Gobbleino. Do you want me to hold you? You want to go? You can go. Little man. He said, okay, I'm done cuddling. I must leave now. Baby boy. He was purring for 2 seconds, and then he left. I had pulled up a picture before he was over here, so here's also a picture of Rigby, because Watson is perfectly comfortable, and I think it would be a crime if I moved him, because he's so cozy. He's rediscovered one of the cat beds in the house, and he's just been in there. But I also have this for you all. Look at this. Look at this. I swear he does have bones, but not really. Look at him. Nothing. He laid there for a while too. Yeah. That's my good boy. He's so little baby. And then I also pulled up, because I can show you some of the map work I was doing. Here's the one I was finishing at 5 a.m. Make maps. Map. So I guess I'm a map maker now. Yep. Yeah. It's a very normal time to be awake. Listen, I survived grad school. It's fine. Yeah, this is foam core, which is just, the foam poster board. Lots of paint. and craft paper to make all of the platforms smooth. The columns are fondant cake holders that we got for cheap. I'm working with a mini painter and printer, so the thrones he printed. And then all of the spikes, the braces, are more foam core painted with the most amazing copper paint on this earth. And then the stained glass itself is actually vellum, like artist vellum, that I put through my printer. And I did all that graphics work on my computer. So yeah, you'll be seeing a trickle of these pictures on my socials and stuff as we go. I've just been so tired. So yeah, I part of my graduate program was scenic design. So I had to make scenic models. And I've done actually quite a bit of it. So it was very funny that I haven't done much for TTRPGs, partly because I'm not allowed to own minis for, I think, apparent and obvious reasons. Because I don't have a lot of room. I don't have enough money to just buy minis. I don't own a resin printer yet. You heard me. And so minis are something that is I'm not allowed. I do digital. I have beautiful digital maps. But I will make maps for others for money. This is my day job I've had for the last 2 weeks / night job / 24 hours a day job. For an actual play coming soonish. They're filming today. Yeah. So back to contemporary. Oh wait, I owe you a tarot card pull. I didn't forget. Tarot card pull for Jobii. Okay. Open this up. I had to move it from where I usually keep it because in the middle of Hades Coda on Sunday, my cats were so interested in me because I've been gone that Watson started licking my tarot box. Not really sure why. But I will shuffle this up for you, Jobii. We're doing another of the Wild Unknown Tarot. Okie doke. And while I'm shuffling this, of course, fun reminder that anytime you can redeem those channel points. I'll show you dice. Or in this case, also sometimes just cool TTRPG stuff that is lurking on my desk. Yeah, only the cards will know if they're reversed. It's your first tarot card pull on the channel, Jobii? Well, that excites me. Okay. They are shuffled. And... oh, I'll cut. Who am I? And we have a reverse card. I'm sorry. I'm just like this. The 8 of Wands reversed. Let's see, 8 of Wands. What do you got for us? Sudden movement or change. The 8 of Wands strikes like lightning. It's a card of news, change, or clarity in an unresolved situation. You might hear from an old friend out of the blue or receive some surprising news that shifts the direction of your course. This card sometimes means literal movement is on the horizon, so be ready to travel if the opportunity arises. So it being reversed can either be that you are blocked from it, or that somehow you have been avoiding it. But movement or change is, of course, scary, especially if it is sudden, which is what the 8 of Wands is about. I hope whatever change, clarity, movement, news, whatever this portents or that is looking for you, is one that is good, and some change is great, even if it's sudden. hopefully it's one of those and not the scary kind of change. This is so pretty. Yeah, I'll show it to you right side up again. It's such a beautiful card with the rainbow lightning bolt in the middle. Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Jobii. And of course, at any point in time, you can redeem those. Oh no, I'm sorry. Uh-oh. You can redeem those channel points at any time for a tarot card pull. And I'm happy to pull you a card. I do only have 2 per stream because they do take a little while. But if you want to hear me wax poetic about tarot, you can always go check out Lori's House or The Home We Remember, because The Home We Remember is a tarot-based game, and Lori's House is a actual play of The Home We Remember. And in the full version of the game, there will be questions for every card in a traditional tarot deck. In the Ash Can that we just released, I think there's only like 30 or 32. I think we do at least most of the major arcana, and I don't remember which ones we are holding for the full game. Yeah, well, thank you for that. And you can check out it. Lori, there we go. I can't spell. There we go. Exclamation point Lori if you want to learn more about Lori's House, or you can use exclamation point THWR for The Home We Remember, where you can read about or see me, or not see, it's a podcast, read about or hear me wax poetic about tarot. Yeah, or you can come here and get a card pull. Okay, contemporary costuming. Back to it. So, I'm gonna kind of slowly move us away from the film and TV of it all, just so that we can focus in on what makes contemporary costuming fun for things like urban fantasy, ways to show like regionality, and stuff like that. If you want to learn more about like the age of things, which definitely does play a role in contemporary costume, there is a very early, but still I think very excellent, seems right, called Dirty Laundry that you can check out, that is all about like clothing aging and getting dirty, and why that is such a like key part of storytelling, which contemporary costuming definitely has to have. But I owe you all, first and foremost, a rant on jeans. Jeans, suits, and skirts, the fit of them, the length of them, the style of them, where they sit on the body, all of these things tell you so much about the period of a garment. I'm going to focus in on jeans, but I promise you, suits and skirts equally fall into these categories. So denim became very popular in the like late 70s, 80s. The 80s was the time of denim, right? And we just haven't really gotten rid of it since then. There are staples of denim. Denim's been around forever, actually. And if you didn't know, like denim actually has its roots, in the US at least, being used as prison clothing. There's a lot of examples of like traditional American prison clothes after we got rid of the striped pajamas. And they became denim. They're workwear. A heavy twill, which is blue, which if you didn't know, denim is a twill. It's a kind of fabric weave. And it was created to be workwear. And we've had it forever, but it became popular to wear casually in the 70s. But where a garment fits and how it fits tells you so much about when it's from. So like if I say bell-bottom jeans, it immediately evokes like 70s or 90s, early 2000s when they came in fashion again. But like bell-bottom jeans are a specific style of jean and fit of jean that belong to very particular moments in time. If I saw someone wearing them today, I'd be perplexed. I'm not a judgy fashion person. I'm like, wear whatever, but I will just know a lot about you depending on what you wear. But like bell bottoms are one of those staples, but also skinny jeans are one of those staples these days. Like, besides the fact that we've moved into so much more comfortable styles of clothing, skinny jeans were very, very popular in the like late 20 noughts, early 2010s. And basically at COVID, it was like people don't wear skinny jeans anymore. We hit late 2019, early 2020, and it was like no one wears skinny jeans anymore. It was very, very fascinating. It's when we moved more into comfort clothing, and then COVID came and everyone switched to comfort clothing, joggers, sweatpants, leggings, etc. And so I'm going to give you the baby version of my gendered jeans rant, which I have given, I believe, on this channel before, which is that gendered jeans are evil. The way that jeans originally were meant to fit, they were never meant to be close-fitted garments except at the waist, because that's how pants used to fit. And the tighter and tighter we've made denim, the more and more we've needed to gender the denim, which is arbitrary based on the fact that they think that they, being the fashion industry, think that you should be able to assign body types to gender, which we, if you're watching my channel, probably know that that's not real. But also just like body types in general are not one size fits all. So there are like men with hips, women with no hips, non-binary people. We exist. We wear all kinds of pants. Some of us have hips, some of us don't. Some of us have a lot of hip. So it is, we've moved back towards like painter's pants. I see Cody in chat talking about cargo pants. If you like cargo pants, you should check out painter's jeans. They rock. But the style of pants has expanded. So we have, like I said, referencing cargo and painter's pants, but you can take that all the way through to like hip huggers and low-rise jeans, which were the very like 2000s jeans where, you know, if you were a certain kind of femme, you wore low-rise jeans with a thong. It was a revelation for me to start wearing belts where my pants would actually stay on, because the way that pants were built when I was in like high school into early college were not friendly to my body type, and my pants would just fall down because they weren't cut for me. And the truth of the matter is, the tighter the jeans are, especially denim, naturally is not a stretch fabric. You have to buy stretch jeans and they look different. If you buy jeggings, I don't know you. I'm sorry. Jeggings are not jeans. They are leggings that are painted to look like jeans, and that's cursed. But stretch jeans exist. Those are, again, meant to like pull over your body and hold the shape of your body. But again, cannot stress enough, denim is not a stretch fabric. And when they make jeans, they still make them with what are called like artifacts or fossilizations of the workwear that they came from. And so the fact that jeans usually have riveted buttons, riveted seams, the little like metal grommet thing at the corners of pockets and things like that are all artifacts from when these were made exclusively to be workwear. But over time, through fashion, we've also evolved them into being distressed jeans, stonewash jeans, basically taking denim, which is naturally a solid color, and purposely destroying it, and purposely putting holes in it and degrading it and paying more money to do that. And this you see a lot of versions of this throughout all of history, in which the working class garment gets popularized, and then the working class version of it is kind of artificially recreated for the non-working class version of a garment. So distressed like stonewash jeans are largely a fashion artifact of people who actually had to like do labor in denim. And this is not a knock on anyone who wears those jeans. I have owned my fair share of them, but it's more to say that like we have that because of a like fascination with the appearance of what are essentially working class jeans. And I say all of this largely to illustrate that like jeans, the continuum of denim, says so much about the character you're designing, creating, who you are, etc. And when you are. So like if I put someone in cargo pants, they either look like they're from the 90s, especially from here in Southern California, or they're just popular again in the last like year and change. Or it's the original working pants from the like 60s through the 80s. And so styles of jeans, brands of jeans. I don't know that they still even make them, but Juicy Couture was a really big thing in the like 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And they were ridiculous jeans that were embellished. And so I think a lot of contemporary costume can be distilled down into just looking at jeans. If you go look at things like Levi's has cataloged and archived cuts for their jeans for any sex of jean. Thanks for hanging out, Jobii. And in that continuum, you can see like as they've added new style numbers, it follows largely the like progression of fashion. My one caveat about Levi's, even though they used to be my favorite brand of jeans, is that they are made with prison labor here in the United States. So even though this is made in the USA, maybe have a ponder on that. And in fact, a lot of denim garments that are made in the USA are made with prison labor, which is not something I support. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. That's a rant for another day. So yeah, especially with denim, you can show a lot about when a character is, who they are, what kind of person, what kind of clothing they wear, just by talking about their jeans. Okay. So let's talk about TTRPG characters and contemporary clothing and how to design for TTRPGs that have contemporary clothing. Today, just for fun, I'm going to talk about City of Mist, which is a TTRPG by Son of Oak Games that I've played quite a bit. It was the Arc 2 game system for the Chaos Protocol. It is the system for the Doomsayers. I've run a couple of one-shots using it. I love City of Mist. It is technically like a contemporary-ish urban fantasy system in which you can make your playbook be whatever you want it to be. So we're not going to get too deep in the weeds of the mechanics of it, but I'm just going to use it as my like backboard to talk about contemporary costumes. And you can use these exact same thoughts to do anything from World of Darkness. You can do Urban Shadows. I was like, there are other contemporary games. And of course, anything reflavored that's contemporary, like, Dimension 20's Fantasy High, etc. But let's talk about how to do contemporary costume research, where to look for stuff, how to avoid falling into the pitfalls of just recreating film and television, or do recreate film and television. Okay, let's go over here. We've already looked at David Tennant. But we're gonna go to my favorite place on Earth, Getty Images. Because one of the best ways to do contemporary costumes is to look at what contemporary people wear. So I don't want editorial. I want creative. Thank you. And so what we can do is search for, well, I guess I could look at editorial. And let's say, just in a theoretical City of Mist, I'm just going to do contemporary Los Angeles, because I love LA. And so you can just search most news sites, most especially like the AP, Getty Images, Rutgers, all have access to things like this, where you can search their image databases. And I've gone over a little bit. There is a Seems Right that is just research, like how to do research. And I show you some of my tips and tricks for being a professional costume historian and researcher. I'm going to say custom date range from January of 2010. Relatively contemporary. To today. 9/16/2025. And so we're going to get things that people actually wear in Los Angeles. Some of it's going to be very produced things, like this is the Rose Parade, which happens here in Pasadena. But you're also going to get just like crowds of people. We've got more Tournament of Roses. But the cool thing about crowd shots like this is that you can see the crowd. And you can see what they're wearing. And now if you kind of look at this and go like, colors. I could actually take a guess. One of them I know, but the other one I could probably guess at what the other sports, what the two sports teams are for the Rose Parade, just looking at this, because we've got red and white and yellow and green. And Mom, if you're listening, I know that it's Oregon. And you can look up crowd scenes. You can look up sporting events. You can look up... let's get out of the Rose Parade. This is too much Rose Parade. Let's go to page 20. And sometimes there'll be things that are more artificial, but sometimes it's like, these are people at a Los Angeles Kings game, which is our hockey team. And for all I know, I'm in the background of these pictures because I'm a Kings fan and I go to Kings games. But this is what people are wearing in Los Angeles at a Kings game. All these people up here in the stands. So again, I can go, okay, my character... the reason I picked City of Mist to talk about is that the way that City of Mist works is that you have like a normal life persona, and then you also have a mythical persona kind of infused inside of you. So you're creating both like who you are in the normal world. So one of their main examples is a gas station attendant who also has the spirit of King Arthur in him. So how do you take gas station attendant and King Arthur and smash them together? And they could be disparate things that only manifest in those moments, or you can blend them together. And so in this case, I could do like I'll do a UCLA student. So I'll search for UCLA in that date range. I can even search UCLA student instead of sports. UCLA students. And you can look at, these are protesters from 2010 about protesting education cuts. This is what students were wearing in 2010 to a protest. You always got to keep in mind the context of why they're wearing stuff, but like, let's see here. Someone celebrating her residency at UCLA. There's all kinds of just like people doing people stuff. That you can look up and use as inspiration. So we can take, ooh, I like this guy. Oh, he's not quite what I'm looking for. He's not actually a student. I want a student. I want just like a normal guy. Like this. Normal student wearing shorts, I guess, and a sweatshirt. Southern California, why are we like this? I don't like that actually. And yeah, so you could just go through and find examples of what normal people wear. Here's more normal people. So I could be like, this person's skinny jeans and UCLA sweatshirt, and then overlay it with, I don't know, I've been on a Japanese folklore binge, so I'll say a kitsune. And so how do I take this and also make it a kitsune? So then I go and research the fantasy element. But the real person stuff is, like, I would look at this and go like, yeah, this is like a 2010s UCLA student. Skinny jeans, Converse, and a sweatshirt that literally says UCLA. And that... Sometimes contemporary costuming is that simple, but sometimes you can go big with it. So let's not do a UCLA student. Let's do someone that's in let's do a film producer. Gonna cease. Or not. There we go. And so we can search for just like either what producers were wearing, or we can just say like, this is someone who wears high fashion, and we can search for high fashion from that era. But like, whoever this woman is certainly dressed, and like, I would believe that she's a producer. I would believe he's a producer too, which he is, but he's not as fun. I want someone fun. Wow, some of these are certainly looks. Wow, I think I have too wide of a range on my dates, because that is 15 years ago. And it feels really 15 years ago. I'll say 2015. Look at this suit. Damn, okay. We could do something like that. Ooh, what is she wearing? It's just a really nice dress. Ooh, I love this suit. I believe that that's a producer. So you go through and you find stuff like this. But the things that I like about these is that, like, they're unique. So like, if I saw these two, especially the two in the browner like bronze clothes, I'd be like, you two go together. And that's a way to, again, design with color and a little bit of pattern. He's got a little bit of black pattern in there. Her dress has a little bit of black embroidery in it. They definitely go together. And it's about finding those color or texture matches to tell the story, and then pairing them with something interesting to pull out that like visual interest. But you know, this is just the literal thing, and you can also go search for fashion. So we can search for like 2016 spring runway. And I used to have a whole thing that was like, so this is just ready to wear. So this is things that people could actually buy. I used to have one that was just like a runway database thing that I could pull up. I don't know where that link is, but if you just search the season and the year, you can find a lot of information, especially if you're, you know, creating someone that likes high-end clothing. You can really pick a moment in time by just searching for, you know, Alexander McQueen 2016. This is what people could go to an Alexander McQueen store or go to Bloomingdale's and buy. As opposed to the high fashion runway, which did not have everything. I really like this dress. It's kind of fabulous with all the embroidery on it. So yeah, we could do something like this, and like I could do this in Joan of Arc for a character in City of Mist. Or this would be a fantastic Vampire the Masquerade dress that kind of stuff where you can go through and search that way. You can also always go to places like Pinterest and find inspiration. And the fun thing about contemporary is that you, as a consumer of clothing, have a better handle of what people wear contemporarily. So you're not guessing at like, did people wear this at the time? You're like, yeah, people wear this. You can say with quite a bit of certainty just through experience, like, yeah, people wear this. Oops, sorry. And so instead of having to do the research as to whether or not people wear it, you can go through and go like, what about this tells the story? So like the reason looking at this, I said, this would make a great Joan of Arc, is that it actually has the like slight ghost of a doublet or a padded, my brain just went blank, like armor padding and that kind of stuff. So you can do things like that through subtle choices like this. Also just cream is such an excellent color for a VTM character in my opinion, because blood. So yeah, you can design for color, you can design, there's a little bit of texture, and I could send this picture to an artist and say like, this is what they're wearing. And it would definitely convey most of the visual. Yeah. If anyone has any questions about contemporary costuming, by all means, I know this has just kind of been a Kai goes on a tear about ways to design contemporarily. But I hope you've been learning stuff from it. The last one of the last things I will say is that well, not last, we've got 20 minutes, we got 18 minutes, is like mixing and matching isn't a bad thing, because lots of people do that in the real world. And you can wear things like I was talking about, how I think the members only jacket looks very 80s. Do it, mix and match it. People do it all the time. Again, this goes back to me saying like, you have understanding of what people wear. If it looks like they'd wear it, they'd probably wear it. I mean, like the 90s really graphic windbreakers are coming back in fashion. They're very 90s, but I've seen a lot of them in pictures on Instagram and like reproductions of them in different stores. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I guess I should look them up. 90s windbreaker. These. Like this is a very 90s windbreaker. And I've been seeing more and more, not only of these, but similar things coming back into fashion that they're big, they're graphic, they're usually those like 90s almost pastel colors. Sometimes they're prints like this one. God, this is so 90s. And like you can put people in these things and it will say a lot about who they are, in that they don't follow just what is trendy from runway. They're also following a more street level fashion. They're following more of, especially nowadays, you can look at fashion from social media, fashion from street fashion, and fashion from fashion. And all three, and there's, you know, subcategories of these things. All three of them are all fashion, and there are fun things to explore within them. Anytime you can get more and more inside of, say, a modern subculture. So I have an entire Seems Right about punk and like punk clothing. Anytime you can get further into someone's subculture, whether it's sports or, you know, both playing sports and watching sports, sports memorabilia has its own entire like subsection of like, what did fans of baseball wear in the 1920s? They were really familiar stuff, but it was all different. And sports fans will know, just like how insignia people for military and police will know, like that, to use the example that I have in my head, like the Dodgers, the LA professional baseball team, started in Brooklyn. And so one of the confusing things is that you'll see, and I own a Brooklyn Dodgers hat which has a B on it, that isn't like Bruin or something like that, which we also have it here in LA. That is the Brooklyn Dodgers. And there are like versions of sports memorabilia that you can track that way, just like there are windbreakers and that kind of stuff. So niche subcultures is kind of a good direction to go in for contemporary costuming. Yeah. God, these windbreakers are great. Oh, look at this one. It's so shiny. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. I'm just a little sleepy today. I might end stream a little early if no one's got any other questions. I jammed through all of my notes a little fast. Gosh. Oh, the another thing, not the last thing. I keep on saying the last thing. Accessories. Just talking about hats. Accessorize your characters. People in the real world wear jewelry. I'm wearing jewelry right now. I'm wearing jewelry. Jewelry, glasses, both seeing glasses and sunglasses, hats. People wear these things. And just like clothing, I encourage you to go and look at what people are wearing, what they wear now. We have a lot more breadth of what is available thanks to the internet. But accessories will also help because just like pattern and like reflective stuff and color, accessories, if someone is accessorized, they're immediately, this goes back to the pin jacket thing, immediately more interesting visually than the people around them that don't have accessories. There's a little more life in them. Yeah. Oh, look, it's 3:47. We're doing good. What else? Can't think of other examples of good contemporary costumes off the top of my head because I'm sleepy. Oh, another thing that is definitely, it's not a lie, but certainly the internet, if you go searching for fashion information, will tell you differently. If you wear fitted clothing, unless it is a stretch, traditionally people are not expected to be able to move in it. A lot of suits you can move in. A lot of dresses you can move in. I always say like dresses are secretly the like lazy person's clothes. Because all you have to do is throw on one garment. If I liked dresses, I would wear them so much more often because they're actually really easy to put on and they're comfy. And so thinking against the curve on a practical level of like, why does this person wear this? Yes, Indie Wanderer. Always asking yourself, like, where did they get this? Why do they have it? Which is the secret of all costuming and storytelling. Always helps, but I love the practical element of like, this person has to go to class, then they have to go work their job, their like, afternoon job, and then when they come home, they have to do homework. How do they stay comfy in all three of these scenarios, and what do they need to do these things? So like going to school, maybe you're sitting in a cold classroom, you want to wear a sweatshirt. You go to your day job and you have to put on a shirt, not necessarily uniform pants, but like a uniform shirt. And then when you leave work, do you come home and change completely into pajamas because you've been wearing them all day? You know, the same conversations you would have with yourself, you can have them with your character. And because you live in a contemporary world, you can kind of gauge a little bit more realistically, I think, like what a person would do in these scenarios. Yeah, Turtlecure, you're right. If again, to use the party as an example, the lead character, Newbie, I put her in so many dresses because she's in a graduate program, and I'm like, nah, this girl doesn't have time to like put together an outfit. She puts on a dress that is an outfit, and then she goes to school. A hydrate for me. Thanks, Patrick. And actually, if you want to hear me rant about dresses and how great they are, I did a while ago. I was the historical consultant on an episode of the Try Guys where the Try Guys try dresses. So you can go check that out. If you just search Try Guys try dresses, I think they've done it twice, but there's one that I am in. Yeah. I don't wear dresses. I think that everyone should normalize casual dresses more. I personally don't find them that fitting to me, but I advocate that if you like dresses, you should wear them not because they make you feel pretty, but because if I could wear comfy pajamas all the time, and I kind of do because I wear joggers often, respect. I respect the dress as both a piece of high fashion and a piece of very comfy fashion. Actually, I should look that up really quick. I'm gonna link the Try Guys video that I did, since I get messaged often, people going, "Wait, you did a Try Guys interview?" Sure did. Oh, there I am. Oh god, jump scare. Yeah, if you want to go hear me rant about dresses and why dresses actually have not always been so gendered. Yeah, tunics are great, especially long tunic. Barely have to wear like fitted pants. You wear sweatpants underneath that. One of the most underrated garments on this earth is the dress, and it's also been worn historically by literally everyone and still kind of is, even though because of the Victorians we call it other things, but so many things are just dresses. Yeah, well, oh, and another weird social norms thing before I forget. If you are ever interested in the cultural side of semi-contemporary, so like recent period from like the 50s forward, there are, and I think I've talked about these on the channel before, there are etiquette books that were written for a very long time, and now we have like society magazines and things like that that all have fascinating information as to what society and culture is dictating is what the social norms are for what people wear and when. Like the whole like don't wear white after Labor Day thing, which no one abides. No one does this anymore. And like that you're supposed to wear seersucker in the summer. All of these things, certain kinds of people, I'm sure, still abide it, but overall, culturally, we all wear our comfy pants, our comfy dresses, our t-shirts year-round. Indie Wanderer asks, what's the technical definition of a dress? What falls under dresses? The origin of dresses, which is just the term robe, goes all the way back to what people often in fantasy refer to as a tunic. A robe is the outer garment, and sometimes the inner garment, because they have undergarment versions of this as well, that goes from the shoulder to at least the waist. But when medieval era in the West specifically, because this is mostly about Western fashion, started to want people to do things like ride horses, they needed something called that is technically called a bifurcated garment, which is basically it's a two-piece garment, which is what pants are. Pants are bifurcated garment. They're just cut in the middle. And then each tube is a different, essentially, skirt shape that you pull over both of your legs. And that is the thing that differentiated the robe and what would eventually be called the tunic as we understand it now. And the robe continued to be worn by a lot of people, including with bifurcated garments underneath, like stockings. But it wasn't until like almost the Renaissance that men's robes started to really be called other things that weren't dresses or gowns, because men wore gowns for a very long time, and in other cultures still do. So the difference is basically for a dress, it has to have an upper body element, often called the bodice. Thank you for that, Hydrate. Or at least a piece of fabric that would cover the area that would be covered by the upper body. And then a single sheaf of fabric, a non-sewn together between the legs bifurcation below the waist. So it's a very technical thing, but technically anything that goes from your shoulders to at least below your waist, like your hips, is a dress in a lot of the traditional sense. If you want to hear me go on a very thought out rant about this, that's what is in that Try Guys video. Because I did a lot of historical research to make sure I was like, no, this is the history of dresses and why they are not always gendered. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for hanging out. I'm sorry I was a little sleepy today, but I hope that you learned something. I love talking about contemporary clothing, and hopefully we'll find more fun ways to explore that. Blister Bean said, make sure if you're feeling tired, you give yourself time to rest before you have to go to your game tonight. I'm going to. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a chill, pet my cats, and then go have a funny, silly time over on Happy Jacks tonight. Which, speaking of, let's talk about where I'm going to be for the rest of the week. Thank you all so much for joining me on a Tuesday, as opposed to our usual Monday, because again, I was building maps all week. All weekend. Oh, that's the wrong button. Clicking all kinds of stuff. Okie doke. Tonight, as we were talking about earlier, you can find me over on Happy Jacks RPG, where I'm going to be there with Justice in chat on Road to Nowhere, which is an Electric State actual play over on Happy Jacks RPG, starting at 10 p.m. Pacific, at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, where we're maybe going to do something really dangerous, as Cody is alluding to in chat. It's going to be fine. I'm so excited. And then you can come back here tomorrow at noon for a game night in which we're going to play more Fallout New Vegas. We're going to go rover on the wasteland as Niles, our courier, and have a good time. And then the last thing is on Sunday. Oh, wait. Well, you can always go and listen to more Lori's House. I do not think we have a new episode dropping this week, but I know that the next episode is almost ready to go. You can go check out Lori's House wherever you get your podcasts. And if you've already listened to it, maybe listen to it again. There are some fun little things hidden in those episodes. And then on Sunday, you can join us over on Vault Companions for the finale of Hades Coda. I cannot believe it's already the finale. For our Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rogue-like ascent from the underworld as Hades, Hermes, Nike, Patroclus, and Achilles all attempt to escape the dwindling Greek underworld. Very excited for that, where I play Patroclus, who is a Valor Bard, and is having sure a time. So you can see how that show wraps up on Sunday. Other fun things that are upcoming, we do have the imminent, feels like it's happening now, but also 1,000 years from now, return of Transplanter RPGs, the Chaos Protocol on October 4th. We've just announced yesterday our Bar at the End of the Universe interlude with a fun special guest appearance from Kimani, played by the singular Zoe Williams. Love you, Zoe. So excited. I love Kimani, even if Zynon not sure how he feels about her. And another surprise guest that I think is getting announced soon, that I'm so excited for. So yeah, you can stay tuned for more of the Chaos Protocol coming very soon. We've been working tirelessly behind the scenes. I had literally dramaturgy with C. Thomas this morning. So it's going to be a treat. And I think that's all. I think that's everything. And then you can come back here for probably my regularly scheduled Seems Right on Monday next week. I've got a few ideas percolating. There might be a presentation involved, as per usual. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for hanging out. I'm going to go find someone excellent to raid as always. And I will see you all in a couple of hours over on Happy Jacks. And then tomorrow back here. Have a good night, everybody. I got to find the right button.